Right, so in this part we will speak about the title of the presentation, which is the Radical Dissociation Strategy. I will explain that in detail now. What is a radical dissociation strategy? It is simply to remove oneself from the flow of traditional knowledge with regards to the understanding of a particular text. It dissociates oneself. We challenge the idea of the original recipient, and this is a very important concept in Islamic studies. The original recipient. How did they understand the Quran? We are always told to ask, how did they understand? And how they understand the Quran is the most important thing, and we can only build on that. The radical dissociation strategy says no, and it is based on Islamic theology itself. It's based on rational principles. We're not saying no simply because we think there's something wrong with them. No, they probably understood it in the best way they could. That's fine, but we don't have to follow them. We have the text, and we can interpret the text however we want. There are two ways of radically dissociating oneself. The first way is actually removing that teaching. For example, the hadith I quoted earlier, where the Prophet the messenger was commanded to fight the people. It's a hadith, but hadith have also been reclassified. It doesn't have to be authentic anymore. It could be we could deem it a weak hadith, or even remove it from the corpus of hadith as well. Turkish ulama, a few years ago, they actually did that, or they attempted to do that with certain hadith which they deemed were misogynistic. So Muslims are indeed moving forward, albeit at a very slow pace, but we are moving forward towards some kind of textual reformation, as it were. With the Quran, for example, chapter 4, verse 34, it's a lot harder because the Quran is our sacred artifact. We memorize it, we recite it. Even though traditionalists, conservative traditionalists, they have the mechanism of abrogation, where they say, well, this teaching has been cancelled by another teaching. It could be from hadith or Quran as well. Even though they have that, to actually remove a verse is sacrilege. And personally, I don't believe it's necessary anyway. I don't believe that the Quran actually says what the conservatives tell us it says. I don't believe that. I believe that the Quran has been hijacked in order to suit a particular purpose. And that purpose is quite frankly, I can tell you, it is patriarchy and it is oppression. So what we need to do is to re-examine the Quran and to realign it in order to achieve its intended meaning. Right. So the first question we need to ask is, why are there these given meanings to begin with? If you look at any kind of translation, go to chapter 4, verse 34, and if you look at a set of comparative translations, there will be very little variation with regards to the beat word. The reason for that is that word has been agreed upon in traditional circles to be the word which has been intended by the text. So if you look at any translation, I would say 90% of them, except for the reformist ones, they will say beat. Recently, Lale Bakhtiar, in her translation, she moved out of that circle. She's still a traditionalist, but she moved out of that circle because she disagreed that it could mean beat. So she was following Science in the Souls as well, and she radically dissociated from that. So why are there these meanings? Because it has already been agreed on. And furthermore, if you ask any Arab you meet, any native speaker, you ask him, what is that word, what is darb? He will say it means to beat. Therefore, it's almost beyond dispute that that is what it means. However, I would say no, that is not what it means. And here is how I look at it.